Alright. Oh, you wanna see this clip of elephants playing with pumpkins?
Sure. While the people who are watching the stream are currently...
Yeah, well they're coming in, yeah. I haven't gotten the notification yet. I have notifications on for you, so. Alright, let me just go to your channel manually and see. I also don't even know what song you packaged, so. I hate that they put the unskippable ad first. Like,
Alrighty. We got some people coming in right now.
yeah. Oh, what am I doing?
I like how the first, literally the first comment is, "What did you think about the new Universal Goku scaling?" Did you watch my latest video? Yeah. The one that came out yesterday, where I address all of them, all of the relevant ones anyway. None of the crossover bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, crossover scaling's never valid. Sorry about that, folks. It's just never valid. I watched the actual video, but they dissed your Lord Goku thumbnail. Look, I don't get this in the thumbnail. Like, even if you disagree with Surfbone, that's a pretty fire thumbnail.
Yeah. No, the guy went super hard on the thumbnail, and originally, the original thumbnail, if you've seen it, literally had Goku wearing a shirt with a rainbow Super Saiyan on it with the cup chair in the background. So tell me, which one was more disrespectful? The original one or the one that was that is now representing the video? I've watched the video and his arguments are so dumb, the guy that we're about to watch, because I've heard quite a lot about this video, so this is going to be quite the interesting stream.
I mean, I've been trying to not watch it just so I can go in blind.
The guy was talking about the power scaling his cringe video. I'm sure that one was not supposed to be dissing Goku himself, more just the people that talk about the whole Goku solos meme, which I empathize greatly with.
Yeah. I think it was funny that the guy was making comments and they were perfectly applicable to your video, but they were about this video instead. Like, that's really funny.
Yep.
Yeah. It's funny how that works out.
Yep.
Watched Goku video, people in the comments think I'm gonna read all that. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna rip the curtain open, but we like all the comments because that's engagement.
Yep.
And engagement's good. So yeah, go ahead, debunk it in the comments. Please debunk it in the comments. In fact, watch it 2 times. Yeah, watch it twice. I'll show us. So. Yeah, I mean, shit, this Goku video is gonna finance a whole lot.
Oh, I didn't even realize they. There we go.
Oh, wait, are you? Yeah, you're not even streaming. You're gonna have to get ready to screen share, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I gotta do that.
Yeah.
I will do that right now.
The video is more of a reflection, by the way. I mean, we'll see.
We'll definitely see. Like, who knows? Maybe this video is actually good. Who knows? You never know what you're gonna get with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe we're all getting clickbaited, and this has all been a scheme to get us to react to it and be like, oh, he's actually spitting facts. There's nothing to say here.
Funny enough, I made an edit called Power Scalers versus Normal People. That's a really good idea for a video.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to, like, talk about power scalers or debaters versus like, normal people, I reference the previous drama and see how how those people handled themselves when they were talking to the man that is Drama Alert.
Yeah,
that was really funny
even
to
more
watch.
than that, I would say like the fact that if you watch these people when they're talking about Dragon Ball, I forgot what the guy's name is, but so like yeah, the Dragon Ball RPG book is written by, and then some guy with an American name, and they just say it like, yeah, that makes sense. An American's writing a guide. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no. Think about it for all of like 5 seconds.
Now I wonder,
I don't know, like
because I had no idea what the soundtrack is. Can anyone in the comments or in the chat currently guess what is the soundtrack that's being played right now? Can anyone guess? We'll see.
I don't think your audience demographic was alive when this game came out, Surfbone.
Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah.
We're just gonna wait a few more minutes before. Probably wait till like maybe like 3 minutes and then we'll start the video. Someone said it's just generic rock.
No, it's
A Dragon Ball Z soundtrack. It sounds like Doom. Look, that was the first thing I initially heard when I first started hearing this soundtrack.
I'm gonna put my cat out real fast 1 moment.
Yep. Guitar Hero Rock Band? Nope, it's not neither of those. I'll just let you know, I had never heard of this before Hashi told me to make this the background music for the stream when we're starting up. Alrighty. What year? Let me see. It's definitely a very old game. I'll say that. Is it like a fighting game? It is a game. It is a video game. Yeah, currently Hashi's putting out his cat.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back. Yeah, no one.
Did anybody guess the soundtrack, or
Nobody did.
did you tell them, or
Nope.
you want me to?
Oh, we got a $15 donation from Chronicler. Surfbone is cute as hell. We gotta call him Swolebone. Please stop.
Oh, Doomslayer's technically, he's really close. It is a lot like Doom, but it's this is from Quake 2. I would have used the because Surfbone asked for like background music. I thought Quake 1 for a second, but for those who don't know, Quake 1 soundtrack was done by 9 Inch Nails, and so I didn't think it would work because it might get claimed by them, even though he did it for a game. But Quake 2 was done by a guy called Sonic Mayhem, and it goes hard. So.
It's funny because somebody in the comments earlier was guessing Sonic Adventure.
Oh, I mean, a few years off, about a year or two off, but I say that because I gave that hint about time.
Just gonna fix something real quick.
I should play the Quake 2 remaster. It's really good. Night Dive did a really good job with it. Same thing with the Quake 1 remaster. Really good. If you have Game Pass, I recommend it. Quake 1 and Quake 2 aren't like connected really either. You can play in either order. Like Quake 2 does have more stuff in it, but Quake 2 isn't like so good it makes Quake 1 look bad. Quake 1 is still really good. Super MK, no, it's Quake 2. It is Quake 2.
I don't know why it's not.
Actually, ASMR 1, I don't know, maybe eventually.
Alrighty. I think we got enough people. We got almost 50 people concurrent viewers right now. So we're gonna pause this. Oh, it did work.
What are your thoughts on Doomslayer being outer? I think it's a bit of a stretch because it's from a art book. And it's not actually in the material.
Yep. Alrighty. We're going over to this screen now.
When you realize Michael Myers has outer reversal hacks, I doubt it.
Okay. Gotta set this stuff on my phone here. Noodles was originally going to be a part of this stream, but he's currently watching some stuff of his brother right now, so...
Oh, Toadman's back in town? Sweet.
Yeah. Who knows, maybe they're watching One Piece, hopefully. Because I know Noodles is telling me that he's been watching that with his brother, so... Okay. Let's finally open up this video. And just gotta... There we go.
He does in the comics? I doubt it proper. Highly doubt it.
Alrighty. So I've heard a few things about this video. And if I go to my comments, we'll just kind of get ourselves a little bit of an idea, at least based off of what other people have said. So... There was this one guy that said that everything was like objectively true in this video, and I said, "What can I expect from it?" One guy said, "It's my opinions guy, and he talks in absolutes. It's about what you could expect."
All right, yeah, I want to talk about that real fast. If you're saying your opinion, that doesn't make it like infallible, right? Like anybody can criticize your opinion. If I go into like a kitchen, right? And I'm like, huh, this looks pretty clean, and it's like from not Hell's Kitchen Nightmares, and Gordon Ramsay's sitting there screaming at everybody. That doesn't make it clean. I'm just wrong, right? So,
yeah.
Good. I'm gonna read the chat bit. Where do you scale Sonic to? I see some outer versal proof, like Jungian archetypes. Jungian archetypes aren't outer. They aren't even real. They're in your head.
Oh man, you're gonna love this one, Hashi. One of the comments said, "I clicked off the moment he mentioned authors don't care."
Lord, this is going to be funny.
So we're probably going to be tearing apart this video if what we're being told is exactly what we're being told is true. So, alrighty.
Comics Michael is only universal, and that's if you wank the constant of evil. I don't know why that would matter. Alright, let's watch the video.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1, and go.
Up.
Who would win in a fight? An age-old question that just about every nerdily inclined individual in the world has debated with their friends about at least once in their life. Whether it's Superman versus Goku, Master Chief versus Doom Guy, or any other of the
Could you pause it for a second already?
Pulled from a...
Yeah. I was just gonna say, who would win in a fight is not just exclusive to freaking fiction. It's been the whole idea of who would win in a fight is pretty much when men were first ever born. Like, I see that guy over there. Can I beat him in a fight? Like, it's just been a thing. Always been a thing.
It goes way beyond that. Like, if power scaling isn't just who would win in a fight, it's a form of narrative analysis where we look into aspects about the character and extrapolate what would happen. In the same way, people will scale, like, intelligence. Like, could Reed Richards beat Batman at chess? Could Batman solve the Kira case? You know, or could these fictional detectives solve the Kira case? You know, it's not just power. It being boiled down like this is already a straw man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a member for a month.
Yeah. Still can't think about a name. Has been a member for 1 month and says, "I've always found the anti-power scaling trend to be weird, even before I considered myself a versus debater. They assume it's a stupid a priori. That's it."
Yeah, I just think it's people who tried to get in were basically made fun of because they didn't know anything, and they're like, "Man, you guys are all dumb because none of it matters," or whatever. So.
Yeah. But yeah, someone also mentioned in the comments, like Like, it's acting like boxing and wrestling and all that stuff has never been a thing ever. As if, like, this stuff has to be, like, you have to be a nerd in order to, like, want to think about who would win in a fight.
Man, I was watching a video yesterday about Mike Tyson, and people are talking about, like, could Mike Tyson have beaten all these old boxers? Is Mike Tyson the best ever at that point? Like,
Yeah.
this, like, analysis of fighting and stuff isn't just fictional. Though I don't know if you could say something similar about when you say they exist similar to Platonic concepts. Platonic forms are supposed to be outside the world. Jungian archetypes are in the mind. They aren't real. They aren't like an object.
Mm-hmm. Someone said I started power scaling when I said my dad can beat up your dad. That's the whole, like, that's like one of the like original like ideas of like just power scaling or who would it win in a fight in general. It's just like the my dad can beat up your dad type of arguments. Like, so no, this is not.
Or in ancient theology, they would like talk about other theologies to say their gods are stronger.
Yeah.
That's a bit more of a touchy subject, but they did do it.
Yeah.
Cross-fiction of all mediums, there seems to be nothing we love more than a good cross-universe dust-up. Dating back as far as I can remember, these debates raged on. Everywhere from the uncool table in middle school cafeterias to late nights at a friend's sleepover when actually sleeping was off the menu, there was always
actually
a new
pause it
matchup
again.
to discuss.
Man,
and now,
this guy's pissing me off already. All he's done so far is try to poison the well. Y'all might think, oh, Hosh, you're being really sensitive. But no, he's specifically trying to make it seem like only nerds do this thing. No.
No.
People will talk about, like, does Mike Tyson beat Muhammad Ali? People will talk about, that bear you told in that story. Would I be able to beat that bear in a fight? Yeah. All this stuff is talked about by all sorts of people all over the place.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with the advent of internet message boards,
pause again,
YouTube
Proper's
series
being
like
dumb in
Death
chat.
Battle,
they are not the very structure of all human thought, no. But even if they were, that they'd still be a thought. They're in your head. They aren't real. It's not a real object.
And nowadays, with the advent of internet message boards,
and also, no,
YouTube series like Death Battle,
not the way you
crossover fighting games like Smash Bros, Jump Force, and Mortal Kombat guest rosters, hell, even big Hollywood movies getting in on the action, the landscape of conversation for these hypothetical contests of strength is bigger and more intense than ever. And that's all well and good. Like I said, I've had my fair share of arguments over this stuff too. There's nothing wrong with occasionally shooting the shit with a buddy on a long car ride about how Gandalf would totally wipe the floor with Dumbledore or whatever you feel like talking about.
Yeah, see right here, if you pause it again, I'm sorry.
Some of you guys...
Okay.
You see he's going into it. He's trying to make it seem like this isn't something you should like. This isn't something you should be doing as your hobby. This is something you should maybe do once in a while. Like, my brother in Christ, people can do whatever they want. Leave them alone, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you aren't above them at all.
Yeah, that's the other problem that I have with people who are just like big into anti-power scaling is that I view it as a type of insecurity where because they can't understand it themselves and they feel like they can't properly engage in the conversation, they have to then come off as if they're above all the people that do this thing. So they end up talking down on them and saying that whatever they're doing right now is cringe and all that type of jazz, essentially. It's I don't understand it, man. Like, if you just simply don't understand something, just be a man, be a real person, and admit your wrongs. Admit when you're not knowledgeable, so you don't like end up saying something stupid. Or if you end up saying something stupid, it's because you have admitted that you're ignorant, and people are going to be willing to accept that. But when you're just acting so arrogant in this type of manner where you're talking down to these people that talk about these conversations, like, it's like, imagine going over to a bunch of like historians or like scientists and just saying like, oh, well, I think a bunch of your stuff is cringe, bro. Like, what?
It'd be like if you went to the people who are debating about whether this long-necked dinosaur weighs more than a blue whale, which is a very real debate being had right now. And you're like, oh, none of that matters. Who cares? If you're just sitting around with your friends, you can talk about it, I guess, but No, the quest for knowledge is not something cringy. Like, no.
Yeah.
Keep playing the video, I guess.
Yeah.
Is you take it too far. I'm referring specifically to the practice of power scaling. If you're unfamiliar with the term, it basically entails taking a fictional character, figuring out all of the most impressive things they've ever done, these are called feats, and attempting to use real-world measurements, math, and science to figure out exactly how fast and strong said character is, as well as the effects of whatever special abilities they might have. More weight tends to be given to stuff that we actually see the character do, but sometimes things that are only alluded to are used as feats as well. Upon figuring all this stuff out, the character is usually given a power rating based on the results. A few different metrics are used, but the most common rating system is based on attack potency and durability. Essentially, what's the biggest thing they could destroy with a single attack?
Oh no,
and
pause it
what's the
again.
most powerful
So
attack.
he already doesn't know what attack potency is, like, because he just blatantly misrepresented it right there.
Yeah. Also, no one's scaling off durability. It's all AP. That's why you end up with Smurfs who have like low AP but really potent hacks.
Yeah. Like, it's
So-
not just, like, that freaking simplified where we only just talk about who do the big punch and all that stuff, but he just blatantly confused attack potency of destructive capacity by giving the definition of destructive capacity right after that.
That unless he like goes back and he tries to make some problem where it's like, well, why doesn't Goku destroy everything all the time? I don't think that distinction really matters for the video.
Yeah.
They could possibly endure
Yeah.
without dying. This scale ranges from the infinitesimally small all the way up to
Oh, he's using
boundless
VSP, what a
infinite
clown.
strength.
Oh,
similar scale-
God, no. Ugh.
What a
Ugh.
clown.
Ugh.
All right, class. What do we say? The only people who use VSB are newbies and rats. So I want everybody in chat right now. Everybody in chat right now to vote. Is he a rat or is he a newbie? Go.
The moment I saw the background of like the light blue background, and then
Yep.
he mentioned boundless right here, and I can
Yep.
guarantee you, the moment he starts talking about boundless, he's gonna start whining his ass off.
Yeah. Oh, pick up
Two-
Swabber. Yeah, being beyond numbers doesn't scale anywhere.
Because to be fair,
I'm
boundless
seeing
is
clown. I'm seeing both. Newbie. Both. Are we gonna go for both? Is the vote gonna be both? Both? I think both.
Yeah. So
All right.
look,
put it
to
up on-
be
put it up
fair,
on screen.
to be fair, boundless is a really dumb tier in itself, and we are going to be having a video coming out soon talking all about that in one of the sections of the video. Luckily, this does have relevance to future content, so luckily we can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Oh, wait. For real quick, being a newbie isn't bad.
Yeah.
But the fact is, he's trying to speak from this position of authority, so it's getting worse. Citing VSB or Death Battle as a red flag? On God, dude.
that is, this man knows. He knows.
Yeah, he's spitting. All right, let's keep going.
All right.
Scale is used for speed feats that ranges from immobile to massively faster than light. Once you've got your
That's
rating for both
not
characters in the
no.
match, you simply compare
That's not the limit.
That's
That's not the limit. You blatantly didn't even read VSB's whole article on the speed page. Are you? If you're going
Wait.
to at least cite Versus Battle Wiki as the source for all this
Wait.
stuff, but then say
Wait,
that all like
wait,
the,
I'm gonna give him.
oh my god.
Wait, Surfbone. I know what he might do. He might say that like infinite and inaccessible and immeasurable speed is like impossible or something. Let's give him a chance
Oh.
here. At least like to make sure the argument's at least consistent.
But I
Keep
don't want
going.
to presuppose though. But
No, I'm saying if he doesn't make that point, then he's dumb. So let's keep going.
yeah, and he's just blatantly misrepresenting shit on purpose.
the stats.
Yep.
With characters that are clearly in different leagues and have no business fighting each other, the match is considered a stomp. But otherwise, the debate typically starts with these things and progresses to comparisons of things like intelligence, skills, experience, equipment, character flaws, and theorizing about how certain unique powers might interact with one another. Eventually, hopefully, whoever is running the debate will decide a winner. If this all seems reasonable enough, if perhaps a bit dorky so far to you, then I would agree. But upon closer scrutiny, 3 fatal flaws in this methodology
Right there, poison the wall again.
With the first
Okay. 3 fatal flaws come immediately when we're basically all we're trying to do with power scaling is better understand the series ourselves so then we can more adequately talk about it in conversation and come to a better understanding of how the verse works. Apparently that is dorky and basically has flaws in that. So let's see what Mr. Big and Stuff has to say about that.
being authors don't care about power scaling.
Oh my god. Okay.
Wait, let's let him get his point out. It's not fair to stop. We know, let him get his point out.
I will say this.
If he goes to point 2, then pause it.
I will say this to the chat. If you're someone who thinks that the authors never consider the powers and the scaling of the characters whenever they're writing their story, you are a moron.
For sure. For those of you who don't know, pause it. I thought of something. My bad. If you've never read like a DC comic, a common thing you might hear someone like Superman say is like, "Oh, they're Doomsday strong," or other people will say they're Superman strong. When the death of Superman was being written, they didn't use Darkseid because Superman had beaten Darkseid too many times, so they had to make up somebody to kill Superman who was stronger. The authors definitely do care about power scaling, and this is just a flat-out lie.
Yeah.
Murata has redrawn stuff to make it look stronger. Verbatim.
Alrighty.
Constructing a scene, their priority and main focus is going to be on developing the characters, furthering the storyline, delivering on a cool action sequence, or in all likelihood, doing several of those at once. The concern is almost never going to be,
argument.
How can I write this in such a way as to facilitate consistency and comparison of my character with those of another author? Like, what?
Yeah,
it's hard enough
again.
to just make everything work within the logic of your own.
Okay. So what you don't understand...
I want to talk about this one.
Okay.
I want to talk about this one. Yeah, no one's expecting a verse to be consistent with, like, other works. In the sense of, like, Marvel isn't consistent with DC or something like that. Is Marvel consistent with other Marvel works? Yeah, it should be. That's why they have an editor, right? But, what's the word I'm looking for? But when they're writing, part of it is making sure, oh, should Superman be stronger than Darkseid? Yeah, that's fine. He beats him all the time. Real fast. OC fallacy is invalid. Correct, it is. Yeah, you can... OC fallacy is dumb as fuck. If you're using it, just leave the chat.
Yeah. So, I will add real quickly here. It's just... This position in itself speaks to the absolute ignorance that this guy is coming from, where he doesn't actually consider, it's like the characters are not what always make up the story, right? Characters exist within the world, right? But if you're actually trying to tell a story, especially ones that involve characters fighting each other, oftentimes you have to actually consider what the characters are capable of. And in order to better demonstrate to your audience what they're capable of, you have to show feats. And you often have to show statements. And often, statements are made because certain things, like, say, for Whitebeard, if he literally destroyed the One Piece planet right there just to demonstrate to the people that he is that powerful, then the story ends. Right? Like, believe it or not, a lot of, like, things get thought about and have to be considered when writing a story. And power scaling is us trying to make sense of it in order to better understand who would win within their own series, and what if we took those characters out of the story, how would they perform against other characters by using the story elements presented to us. Like, it's not that complex.
All right, I'd also like to add that all the information we get from a story is emergent. So there isn't like some nebulous intent we're deciphering. We have to interpret what goes on via context because that's how language works. And because of that, even if the author intended for us to never power skill, it doesn't change that we can power skill. Like, there's no like interpretation police. That's why there's Goku tards all over Surfbone's comment section. If we had an interpretation police, they'd be banned from commenting because they're wrong. That's bound to get some people angry. All right, we can keep going.
Someone said, I like fiction, but comparing different stories from different authors is kind of cringe, and y'all are just hating on the guy, but power scaling using characters in the same author material is okay. Why is that cringe? If we want to figure out, if we are truly curious about who wins between Goku versus Superman, or say Naruto versus Ichigo, what is actually bad about trying to use the materials that are given to us, provided from the story, to figure out how strong Naruto is, how strong Ichigo is, and then trying to see how they stack up against each other to see who would more than likely win based off of what is presented to us? I don't see an actual problem with that. Like, I don't... What is this?
Add in there.
What is this? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
There are series out there that are written by multiple authors under one pen name. An example are those cat books, the warrior books. They're all written by quote-unquote Aaron Hunter, but they're written by like 8 people who all work together. How do we know who's written which book, when which ones we are allowed to scale to each other? Because the cats do fight in those books. I've read all of them, unfortunately. Editors do nothing for consistency. They definitely do when they tell you you have to make up a new character to beat Superman.
Yeah.
Because Darkseid's lost.
Editors are literally the person that prevents the story from, is literally the actual wall, like the quality assurance before the actual manga and or comic and or story gets out there to the world. They're the ones that look at the story and see whether or not it makes any coherent sense, or if it's actually entertaining, so then they can present it back to the author and be like, you should change a few things. That's why like the whole Cell saga even exists, because the editors did not like the use of like the androids at first, like androids 19 and 20. They hated those.
Like 17 or 18 too.
So then we got 17, 18. They hated them too, because now they're just a bunch of teens. Then we got Cell, and then like, oh, Cell's first form is ugly, and you kept going until eventually we got Perfect Cell. If the editors weren't there to basically be the quality assurance to the author, we would have never gotten the entire Cell saga, and we would have been stuck with 19 and 20 the whole time. That's how editors work. And like a lot of mangakas and authors will talk about how they do a lot to try to please their editors. And that how like a lot of them are just really hard to please a lot of the time. And that's usually a good thing. Because if you don't have some like a story go through somebody first before you eventually publish it, it might be trash, right?
Especially when you're working on it for a long time, you get what I call it my baby syndrome, where you'll work on something and you see it as my baby and it looks perfect, even if it's like flawed like severely. But when you have someone else look at it, they'll be like, actually, that's pretty bad. And then you'll look at it again and be like, yeah, that is pretty bad, ain't it? And then you change it.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the scene from Family Guy where Brian was on Adderall and was, for like 2 days, was constructing an entire story and or world.
Yeah.
And then when he presented it to freaking George R.R. Martin, he's like, what do you think of this? And he ends up reading and he's like, this sucks.
You just wrote a lot. Yeah, you didn't write good. You just wrote a lot.
Yeah.
I was talking about Marvel. Marvel does the same thing with like Iron Man and stuff. Like apparently there's like an editorial mandate that Hulkbusters have to lose.
Yeah.
And there's tons of stuff like that. I saw someone else I wanted to reply. Angel, I don't know why you're citing Gilliman at me as if I wasn't there when that was written. Like, you have no idea who you're talking to, my friend. Keep playing the video.
Let's continue with this video.
World and rules. And a lot of writers, even very skilled ones, will display some degree of inconsistency even when comparing characters within the same series or the same character between different scenes, let alone having to scale it properly. I'm
just going to say this now. Wait, hold on. I want to say something real quick. Real quick. if you are seeing something and it seems like an inconsistency with you in terms of like the power scaling, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. It's going to be 2 words: a skill issue. That is literally your fault for coming to an interpretation that ends up making an inconsistency, right? Like, because I'm just going to let you know, very few times are you actually going to find a story that has like basically there's no such thing as an inconsistent story, but an inconsistent interpretation. Because ultimately, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, so any meaning we derive from the work is through us. So if you're saying it's inconsistent, that's you giving up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read a bit of chat here because chat's always interesting. I'm saying that Marvel is a bad example of consistent. No, Marvel's fine. I mean, compared to what the point he's trying to make, Marvel's fine.
Yeah.
There's another one I saw that I wanted to reply to. Couldn't you just make your own thing, publish it, whatever? Yeah, I mean, you can debate and use any character you want to, but there's this thing called the ambiguity fallacy, where if I'm talking about like Goku, I don't just get to use any Goku. I have to specify what I'm using. I don't just get to switch mid-conversation.
Yeah.
Does Death Battle have an editor? Yes, they just have very low standards. Actually, their standards are mid. It's just they have weird ones. Like they don't like immeasurable speed, for instance. Cyber could probably tell you more about that, but I don't even know if Cyber is still alive.
Yeah.
Everybody pray for Cyber. He literally has cancer.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat legit has inconsistent power scaling. I will say that Mortal Kombat is very weird in its actual like storytelling in terms of who actually could beat who and everything. I feel like I want to make a video about it, complaining about it one day, while also trying to make sense of it as much as possible, while complaining about it at the same time, because I was just absolutely livid with how weirdly inconsistent it seemed that it was being told. But I'm just saying, but most of the time, it is just a skill issue, and you coming to an inconsistent like interpretation when you're reading the story. More than likely, there are ways that you are able to interpret the story and come to a consistent interpretation, and you probably just didn't look hard enough. Or you're only looking at things surface level. You're not considering context and all this stuff.
Are you trying to say outliers don't exist? Not really. Like, outlier is a category you should put stuff in when you can't explain it yet. Not like, oh, it's an outlier, doesn't count. Like, no, it's bad power scaling. The writers have said that editors do nothing at Marvel. I've seen the opposite too.
Yeah.
I've seen the opposite. Like when Brian Michael Bendis was writing Iron Man, he's talked about it on Tumblr before.
Yeah. The thing is that outliers, what people don't consider is most often those outliers usually have context to them to explain why those like events occurred, and you probably just didn't look at it hard enough to better. And if you're trying to explain it away, saying why this doesn't get involved into the consistency of the character, then I think you need to actually reread that section again to better establish that point, instead of just saying, oh, well, that's just not part of the consistency. You need to actually read the story in order to better understand the story. It's that simple. All right, let's continue with this.
Apparently some author didn't read another book. That happens all the time, but it's not editorial's job to make sure you read the stuff. It's just their job to make sure quality is assured. And sometimes editors can suck too, but it's still their job.
Yeah.
Like, just because, you ended up with, like, a fucking tool stuck in your belly after surgery, that doesn't mean all surgeons are frauds.
Yeah. Don't most of these debates end up falling into appeal to ignorance fallacies? That is literally the majority of today. The majority of the debate, like the current debaters I've been seeing today, all appeal to ignorance. That is a lot of the Goku fans, that's a lot of the One Piece fans, that's a lot of people in the current community. They love to appeal to ignorance. It's absolutely... Ugh.
I want to add on to that. Even though we probably sound like angry men shouting at clouds here about the debate community, it's still fine to power scale and debate and stuff. Just like I don't like how in the current COD game everybody's sliding around like it's Titanfall, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna like shame everybody who plays COD.
Yeah. It's just like, let people have fun, bro. I'm just saying. And are you allowed to bitch about the people that participate in it and maybe take it a bit too far and a bit too seriously? Sure, you're allowed to criticize those people, but don't like go at the concept itself of power scaling when it's clear you don't know that much about it. Clearly.
All right, let's keep going.
Everyone else's completely separate imaginary worlds and characters that operate on totally different rule sets. 99% of the time, a writer just wants to create an awesome, effective, emotionally compelling scene.
Intent
that will
doesn't
be
matter.
satisfying to their own audience and within the context of their own
Doesn't
story.
matter.
And a lot of the time, a character doing something that makes for a cool visual is much more important for affecting the audience than a 100% adherence to consistency.
So what you don't understand is that in Battle Shonen, there's a thing, or in most other comics, if you are meant to demonstrate a new threat, like say, like Big John from some random series just defeated like Big Bob, and Big Bob was so powerful that he was shown to punch down a building. Like, whoa! And it's like Big John defeated him. Who can possibly beat Big John? Now, how do you better demonstrate to the audience that a new threat has come and is stronger than Big Bob? Because the best way to do that is to show a higher scale of what they're capable of doing, right? And or demonstrate what makes them much more powerful than the previous foe, to then demonstrate why they're such a big threat to the protagonist, all right? They don't make cool action scenes just for cool visuals, bro. That's not how it works. That's not every single author. I don't know who told you that or what kind of stories you've written, but I just feel like if you just think cool action scenes are just cool visuals and they're just meant to make shit look cool, I don't think you've read a lot of stories or have very, very surface level means of like interpreting anything.
I think the worst part about it is they're trying to assert that there's like this intent that there can be nothing behind it, but we can still extrapolate like how impressive is that feat? How much energy would it take to perform that feat?
Mm-hmm.
If he can consistently put that out, how well would he do against this other guy? All of that is fine. When you think of VSB's whatever page, it's shite. Don't use it. Someone else said I don't know if they're talking to me or someone in chat. Bro, really pulling a death of the author fallacy. It's not a fallacy. It's literally how language works.
Yeah. Let me. Death of the author is a philosophical concept meant to better extrapolate how the idea of an author is not an actual real thing. There's a person called a scripter that puts words together and ends up making something called a story. And after that work gets published, that person no longer has control over the work, and now it's its own entity. The author no longer has authority and or control over what it says now. You are now free to interpret whatever it is being said within the work. And you're allowed to come to any conclusion you're allowed to make. And whatever the author says about it doesn't matter, because the work is finished. If the work is still going on, then the author still is capable of making changes to the work, right?
Oh, I forgot something.
Yep.
People are talking about the might of Jabra in the chat. He is a pedophile.
Yeah, please
He is
stop.
a pedophile.
I know the guy got mad at me for he is a PDF file. Please stop talking about him. He is like,
I'd like to remind
just a
one more
weirdo.
thing.
We don't need to talk about him
One more
anymore.
thing.
Yeah.
Pedophiles do not have human rights. Fun fact. All right, let's continue watching the video.
Yep, facts.
Will be. A perfect example of this is a scene from part 6 of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. The main character, Jolene, is trapped in a maximum security prison, and a huge fight breaks out between her, the guards, and several other prisoners. And being that this is an anime, everyone involved has wacky superpowers. Jolene can manifest a powerful spectral figure called a stand to fight alongside her. She also has some cool other abilities that are tied to that, but they aren't super relevant to this discussion. Her opponent, a prison guard named Westwood, has the power to call down small meteors from space to his location for use as projectiles.
Pause
During the
again real
course of this
fast.
fight, Jolene is
I've actually calced that feat. It's massively hypersonic. I don't have the math on me, but I have calced that feat before. It's massively hypersonic.
about to be hit by one of these meteors and punches it away with her stand at the last second, destroying the meteors, but breaking her hand in the process, since she also takes any damage done to her stand. Pretty badass, right? Makes for a thrilling moment in a high-stakes fight. Now, given this scene, and without doing any further research, where on the aforementioned power scale would you place Jolene? Well, let's see what the professional power scalers over at Death Battle had to say about this.
No!
Wait,
No!
no, he's using the word right. No, he's using the word right. Professional just means you get paid for it. It does not mean you are good at it. For instance, Dylan Dennis is technically a professional boxer.
I guess. But man,
There,
why would you cite
no.
Death Battle of all things, dude? Like,
But no, I could calc the kinetic energy of that and see how impressive it is, but it's more than likely a low ball for Jolene, considering what she scales to later. But then again, her AP isn't even really that good. It's her speed that's that good. So continue.
This just screams how surface level this guy is, because he has to go to Death Battle, which tells me the only reason he made this power scaling as cringe video is because he doesn't like what Death Battle comes to conclusions on and who he said beats said characters.
Strong as stone free, which can punch meteors that were pulled to Earth in seconds.
By measuring the distance the meteors are from Earth, we can estimate they were moving at over 11 million meters per second. Factoring in their mass, they'd each have a kinetic energy of 441 kilotons of TNT.
What?
Okay,
Not
how
bad.
close was your guess? I was pretty fucking far off the mark. I mean, the conclusion they draw here is completely ridiculous. Even assuming that all of
Why?
the math
Why is it
Why?
ridiculous?
Why is it ridiculous?
Oh wait,
though?
he's about to say.
Oh my god.
and measurements are
Keep going.
correct, which I'm sure they are. If you genuinely think that Hirohiko Araki's intention with this scene was to say that Jolene stands
Oh, it's an
capable
intent
of
argument.
punching
Nope.
with the force
Instantly
of a small...
in the garbage. Instantly in the garbage. Intent does not matter. That is factually what is presented on the manga. The intent of Araki does not matter at all. If for instance, what if
my God.
what if it came out Araki's intent was actually to power scale and to be that accurate? Like, what's your retort going to be then?
Out of all the
Keep going.
series that you could have like said that like doesn't follow like power scaling, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was probably one of the worst examples that you could have ever brought up. Like that
Yeah,
is
you-
like super. Like what?
The,
I
the
just
literal
don't
premise of part two, the literal premise of part two of JoJo's, by the way, is that Joseph and a few others fight a Pillar Man, and they find out that he's actually the weakest Pillar Man like ever, and so they have to train to fight the stronger Pillar Man. The premise of part 6 is that Jotaro is so strong and so knowledgeable, he has to be taken off the board at the beginning. Keep
Like-
playing the video.
Like if you were being skeptical of like their math, that's one thing. But to be like, oh, well, I don't think the author intended this is not only like the biggest cop out argument I've ever heard ever in regards to that type of stuff. But it's literally you just whining because you can't comprehend that yourself. So therefore, you're just going to use, well, I just don't think the author intended that as a type of like, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like a defeater or whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this is ultimately just like a cop out. Like, I feel if all he's gonna do is just say like author's intent, then this video is even worse than I imagined.
Yeah.
Keep playing the video.
all nuclear bomb? Then you are insane. This is a Prison Break story. and
Why?
they've
Oh, you
clearly
know what
shown
this
earlier-
is? You know what this is? We're getting back
It's
into
a D.
2016, boys, with the
D-
we're going to the absurd appeal to absurdity or the incredulity fallacy. We're in 2016, boys. Oh my god. You think
I'd like to have a
JoJo's
fun-
is as powerful as a nuke? You're insane, bro. How could you ever think that such a character is that powerful? What? I don't believe it.
Fun fact for everybody who doesn't know, if your response to an argument is, do you really think that? You're falling to burden of rejoinder because you aren't actually addressing the argument. You're just doubting that they really believe that. And when they say yeah, you've just lost the point.
Trent's also got a point that it's also disrespectful. Yeah, okay.
I think the main reason a lot of people hate power scaling is because of tryhards that try to debate everybody, and they can and are incredibly toxic. It's also disrespectful to the author. I don't know if it's disrespectful to the author if they're just debating people, right? Because I don't really see, like, it might be, but
I think he's saying I think he's saying it's disrespectful to the author in regards to what this guy is saying, not what we're saying.
Could be, yeah. It is like you could possibly think of that, but I think ultimately, it's not that he couldn't. I think the point he's making here is it's highly unlikely Araki is thinking about it based on the beginning of the video.
But the thing is that how would he know? That's my biggest question to every person that does the appeal to the author or appeal to authority is, how would you know that unless you're literally standing next to Araki himself when he's writing down the scene as it's being made?
Oh,
how would you ever know that? Yep.
$5 super chat from Doc Valentine. How much you want to bet? Oh, god damn it. Quit typing in the chat so I can read this, everybody. How much do you want to bet a ton of these anti-power scalers are toxic Goku stand victims from the G+ days? It gives me that energy. Well, thank you for the super chat, Doc Valentine, but I think a lot of these people are just like onlookers who dipped their toe and were exposed, yeah. Back to what I was saying, though, or I was going to get to, is that power scalers are really big nerds, obviously. And I don't mean that in like the way this guy means. I mean, we really like the series we talk about generally. And that leads to the point where power scalers are oftentimes some of the most knowledgeable on the series. And it gets to the point where, in a case like me, I have people who work on the material asking me for advice on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what now, right?
Yeah.
There is no, no, power scaling's fine. I'm going to real quick refill my drink, re-chat or something.
Yeah. Did this guy talk to Araki in fluent English? That's kind of funny. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me how someone can immediately just watch this stuff. They watch stuff like Baki, they watch stuff like Dragon Ball, they watch stuff like One Piece or Naruto, any of that stuff, and just immediately come to this idea that I can just say that we don't know if that's what the author intended, but they don't realize that same logic can be thrown back on them to be like, well, you don't know, so you can't complain about it unless the author is actually saying that's what he's complaining about. And even then, one of the things I've had to ask one of my own English teachers is that one of the often biggest debates is like, there was once this book where in the way that this guy was basically describing a lot of the events in the book, it got to the point where apparently the author was so angry at these people interpreting it in this much more deeper manner that he's like, if I say that there's a tree, it's just a tree. All right, there's no deeper meaning behind it. But then people would often retort to that same author and be like, well, actually, the thing is that there's nothing wrong with interpreting it a different way. And that for us, it's not just a tree. It can be seen as like a sign of symbolism to reflect something that happened previously in the book. And it actually ends up making the story a lot more sense. And they can do all this stuff. There's nothing wrong with coming to those conclusions unless they're just blatantly wrong and they're reading it incorrectly. Right? That's why we debate about this stuff. That's why we talk about this stuff, to see who has the more consistent interpretation. That's why we have these discussions. That's why we're allowed to have these discussions. Authors are even, I would say, are often more scared to give their opinion on what is going on within the story because they are aware that some people will see what they say as the be-all end-all. So they often hold on to certain information of or their ability to say words and or quote unquote confirm information and just say, oh, well, I think that's a cool theory, but I'm not going to delve too much on that. Like the Rick and Morty creator did that.
Alright, I'm back. Yeah, I had to get ice. Hate that.
Yeah.
You ever try to get ice
Oh,
out of the
she's
thing and it
iced
won't come out? Yeah. Who let Nate in here?
Nate,
I've
what are
been
you
in
doing
here.
in here?
Yeah,
Are you
leave.
telling me you didn't see SpongeBob on your OBS, Surfbone? Come on.
Yes, I now see SpongeBob on my OBS now, and everybody else does too.
They were literally spamming it earlier, Surfbone.
I don't power scale. I don't power scale. I understand basic universal feats or something, but when people start whipping out cardinals and axioms, I just give up. Well, that's the point. That's what they want you to do. Instead of actually talking about power scaling, they sidestep and talk about other irrelevant bullshit.
Okay,
just
so
like the COD example I gave. Wait,
Yeah.
just like the COD example I gave earlier. Even if people are doing something in the hobby I don't like, that doesn't mean the whole hobby is bad.
yeah,
Oh, the only time author statements aren't credible is when there's a contradiction. No, they're never
No,
credible.
no.
If they're credible, it's by coincidence.
yeah.
And
The
that's
thing
because
is,
the source material would say it.
the problem with that type of logic is that basically you're basically saying that the author is right until he's wrong. That's essentially what you're saying, and that at the end of the day, we're gonna have to end up going back to the main source material, aka the manga, comic book, whatever, to actually see whether or not the author is actually correct with what he's saying. So ultimately, the author is not what has the ultimate say over anything. You are admitting that the source material does, because you're saying that the author can be wrong about his own story. And if we're going to say the authors are credible, then we would have to say that they're always right no matter what they say. That's the only way that you can then say that author statements have any type of weight behind them. Not when, oh, they're only wrong when they're just blatantly wrong. No, that's just being like nitpicky and cherry picking. All right, we're going to continue with this crap video.
Oh, wow.
Later on in the
I just
series
got
that her
a bunch
stand,
of-
while being quite strong, about strong enough to bend a quarter in half with its fingers, is not quite powerful enough to break through the bars on Jolene's prison cell. Not to mention all the time throughout the
That's
series
AP.
where she needs to
Wait,
unleash
pause
a
again,
barrage of
pause
attacks
again.
to finish a
For one, that's AP versus DC, but for two, that's a very early stone free, and this is a very late stone free, and those are two very different stands. Not only that, but Jolene ends up being wrong anyways because she's ended up able to bend them anyways,
Yeah.
and we kind of learn that the reason she doesn't break out is for other reasons.
Yeah. So
So
it's crazy how when you actually read the story, you realize that there's context to explain why certain things didn't happen. And this guy, because he is not good at actually reading anything, he didn't see that, and he's now here looking like an idiot complaining about it. It's kind of baffling that we have to like sit here and tell people, yes, this guy just did not actually watch the show.
fight
Yep,
with
keep
opponents
going.
that have ordinary human durability. If she was actually
No,
intended to
pause
be as
again.
strong as this feat shows,
Oh my god.
if she's fighting them and they don't instantly die, they're not normal humans.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. If they have a feat like fighting Jolene, they are not a normal human. External consistency does not trump what's shown in the story.
It's like
Keep
saying
going.
it's like saying that because Hercule Satan survived that like BAP from Cell at the beginning of the Cell games, that all of a sudden that is an inconsistency and that's bad storytelling because he's supposed to be human, when literally you could just be like, but we could just say that that just means that Hercule Satan has really good durability because he did instantly die from it. That doesn't then make Cell weaker by that standard. Like, holy crap.
then the entire rest of the series makes a lot less sense. Now, clearly, Araki wrote that scene because he thought it would be badass to have his protagonist
Intent
punch a
argument,
flaming
nope,
meteor.
in the
And
trash.
he was absolutely right. It was
Every time.
Oh my god. It's like you just don't know how to read, like, anything. Yeah, DC, when we're saying
what
DC,
does
we
DC
mean
yeah.
destructive capacity. You're right, Trent. But
Yep. Like,
it's
yeah,
absolutely
like Jolene
crazy to me
can-
that you're just like, oh, action scenes only happen because Araki wants to show something cool, and that's why this scene happens. Araki clearly just didn't think about this enough, or didn't bother going through his story and seeing whether or not his story is actually consistent. Like, I understand where Trent was coming from. That comes off as incredibly disrespectful because now you're acting like Araki is dumb and never even bothered to fact check what has been shown to be the case in his series, and it's just wildly inconsistent.
There's a worse side of the argument he's making, and that's that he doesn't even have a problem with power scaling. He apparently just has a problem with how people do it.
Yeah.
Apparently, if we go through and we find a work where the author cares about consistency and he cares about power scaling, we're supposed to scale it. So his problem isn't with power scaling, it's about what we're power scaling. So for all you fledgling writers, get to writing that story about power scaling.
Yeah.
Very cool scene. But because it happened, it's now a feat, and power scalers will take this, apply a bunch of math and physics to something that never took those things into account in the first place, and
you don't know
use
that
to say a character is so-and-so level while ignoring all the other evidence to the contrary. And why would people do something like that? Because of the second major flaw.
Okay, so to be fair, this does.
Can you put the title screen back on there? Yeah. So, we see the point. I don't want, because Surfbone did this earlier and he kind of pissed me off when he did it, but I don't want to preempt points because it's not fair to him.
Right.
But saying that, and I quote, "You are nitpicking and biased," that's a positive claim, my friend. You better not have some sweeping straw man you're going to be making here.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, there are people that literally come to certain interpretations because they really like the character and they really want them to be strong, so they interpret things a certain way so that they can then present it as, oh, X character is super, super strong, when you actually then, when an outsider looks at that same argument and be like, you know what, this doesn't account for a lot of these other things in the series, and ends up making it more inconsistent by proxy. That's what the whole Goku video was about. So,
I mean, we can kind of see it in the chat right now. Like an SCP guy is trying to talk about cardinals. Like, yeah, because cardinals don't scale anywhere. They're not real. They're a value or a grouping. That's not a real thing to scale to. And anybody who does that is either new or a rat.
Yeah.
Or let's keep watching.
People want their favorite guy to win. Human beings are inherently biased creatures. It's just a fact of life.
No, pause
and
already.
Stories have an innate.
You remember how I said, oh, it'd be cool if you actually made a case and not just some sweeping straw man? Well, here we go. Even if you say all humans are biased, well, for one, that's poisoning the well. You have to show why a certain take is inherently biased and could not be true otherwise. So let's keep watching and see where he goes with this.
Ability to connect to us on a deep and personal level. Our favorite characters are almost a part of us, and as such, we become very attached to them. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Does a person have to have does their favorite character have to be someone that they relate to, or just someone that they think is really cool?
Yeah, and even beyond that, you still have to show why like that take is biased. You don't just get to call everything biased.
Yeah, like you're allowed to have like a favorite character not because that they're relatable, but because they're admirable. That's why a lot of people like DC characters, because they're not meant to be super relatable a lot of the time. They're meant to be someone to be admired, usually. And that's something that I think Stanley talked about, why he thinks that a lot of people like his Marvel characters, because a lot of them have a lot of relatable and human problems. But not everyone is always akin to liking that type of stuff, because everyone has different standards of what they like. So
Paul A makes a good point. Even if a person is biased, why is that so bad if they are consistent? I mean, I agree. You can be biased and still give a non-biased judgment.
Yeah.
This happened in chat earlier. Someone did a Digimon matchup in chat, and they were like, hey, Omegamon X Antibody versus some other guy. And Omegamon loses that fight. And I'm like, well, I'm biased, but Omegamon loses. And everybody's like, why are you biased, Hoshi? And I showed the model kit I have of it. It's right over here. It's like 2 feet tall. And I'm like, yeah, I have that. I'm biased.
Someone said, I 100% relate to Luffy on the fact that my dad preferred to deal with the entire world hating him than parenting. Oh, that's perfect.
Man. That's rough.
That is that is rough. God damn. We got a real one in chat.
I only call it a way of scaling because I've seen a lot of people do it where they're all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep watching.
But when someone else comes along and says that a different character is stronger than our favorite guy, we don't like hearing that. It brings out the same primal childhood playground defensive need to insist that no, my dad
Poisoning
can
the
beat
well
up
again.
your dad. Even if the other kid's dad is a black belt ex-Navy SEAL bodybuilder, it doesn't matter because I love my dad and I really, really want him to win. So when it comes to power scaling, the most popular characters tend to have the largest, staunchest defense squad ready to come out of the woodwork to provide any and every feat possible to ensure that they always come out on top no matter what. And for a perfect...
Do these people exist? Yes. But that doesn't make up the entire community, bro.
The
also,
people who partake in the hobby...
Yeah.
Yeah, the people who partake in a hobby aren't the same as the hobby itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because, like, all the people who end up playing COD play it like Titanfall, and that's cringe, doesn't mean that, like, COD is bad. No.
Like, here's the thing. I really like One Piece. I really like the story. I really like the characters. I honestly think I enjoyed it more in Naruto. But I still think the One Piece fandom is probably one of the most, like, the worst and most disrespectful and most biased and most obnoxious fandom I've ever seen. But I still like One Piece regardless. Like, wow. Revolutionizing.
Here. So cardinals aren't valid. Like Aleph null amount of spatial dimensions being high hyper. Aleph null just means infinity, dude. Uncountable infinite spatial dimensions is not low outer. Correct. No amount of spatial dimensions gets you to low outer or outer. That whole position there was a VSB cope because dark side bodies out like basically all of the math verses because he's just actually outer. SCP guy, you're wrong. No amount of spatial dimensions gets you to outer, ever.
Yeah.
Perfect example of
no,
this
COD is bad
phenomenon,
because of predatory.
we look no further.
COD is bad because of predatory microtransactions. You can still play a game like that and have fun with it. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Again, you can still like a game, you can still like a series, even though the fandom sucks. The fandom does not represent the actual medium. Like holy crap.
Shit, let's look at Sonic games, dude. Every time a new one comes out, all the Sonic fans are like, this game's gonna suck. And then the other half are like, we know, but we're gonna buy it anyways.
Yeah.
And then they do every time.
This is like
Let's keep watching.
It's kind of similar to how like certain people are afraid to like come out and talk about how they like anime because they know how some people are so shallow in their views about certain things that they're gonna immediately think that because they like anime that they must be a weird person. So people often are afraid
That's really
to like
fucking weird.
talk about that kind of stuff. Like this guy is basically being
how is one able to get to outer then? You have to be beyond the concept of space. You have to be beyond the thing that all space is cut from. Any amount of spatial dimensions would be contained within the concept of space. Yeah, Prince Lamar's spitting. But yeah, a bit more than that though. But being beyond space could be outer with a little bit more content.
Yep.
So let's keep watching.
Work to provide any and every feat possible to ensure that they always come out on top no matter what. And for a perfect example of this phenomenon, we need look no further than the bat in the room.
Alright, I wonder what example he's gonna give.
Man, it just looked really weird that he just had like Chainsaw Man playing for that entire like little rant there, and it had nothing to do with what he was talking about, and it was really bothering me. Like, if you're gonna put something on screen, at least make sure that it's relevant to the video. Like, don't just put something in there because you realize you have nothing interesting to put in there.
Like, if it's a live stream, that's one thing because you're kind of on the clock. You know, you gotta have something up. You can't just have dead air. But for a scripted video, obviously. Yeah, if I were him, I would have had like Arkham footage leading to this, right?
Yeah.
Batman Arkham or whatever. Yeah.
I'm just gonna skip this in case.
Yeah,
that's trailer footage.
Fictional characters of all time. Even among people who aren't into superheroes at all, Batman is a household name, and with good reason. With a rock-solid basic concept, decades of excellent comic book storylines, critically acclaimed
Century at
feature
this point.
films, a few banger video games, and several great animated TV shows under his utility belt, Batman is awesome. And I love Batman too. He's my second favorite superhero after...
You know what's funny, though? It's just like, again, we're going back to scale here. If someone is going to be watching your stuff, and they see the same shit over and over again, they're going to get bored. So if we just see Batman and the Joker always fighting each other, and Joker's basically doing a similar scheme every single time, it's going to get boring. So what does the Joker have to do in the next thing in order to make it more relevant or make it more interesting? By upping the scale of what he's doing.
I'm gonna read chat here real fast. Someone said, how do you get to extraversal? Extraversal is the tier above high 1A for anybody who doesn't know. And as the person who wrote the tier, so there's a gap between outer and high outer, which is like looking from outer below, but it's that relationship infinite times. Not infinite times outer, but the gap between outer and not outer infinite times over.
Also, Trent, for your question, no, I even checked the description earlier, and he did not credit that like trailer whatsoever. And if that was a fan made one, then this guy's just kind of scummy, and he was just looking for a clip to put in there. Like this is his literal description. Would everyone please shut up about motherfuckers being multiversal or galaxy level or massively faster than light when you know damn well we're talking about some goofy ass Demon Slayer character who'd get bodied by Tony Chopper. Wow. We can
man, that looks like power scaling right there.
Oh shoot.
Yeah,
we're power scaling, bro. Oh shit.
What's funny is he's pooping on people for, oh well, people are biased because if you like a character, you're going to defend it no matter what. And then you do that too. You're trying to poke the bear there. And I get it. Maybe your description is trying to have fun, but it doesn't look good. Keep going.
Alrighty.
You're Spider-Man. So
actually, wait.
Bat
Sorry,
fans,
one more thing.
Please don't take it.
One more thing. I want to yell at somebody. SCP, if you're trying to say that's confusing, but you're sitting there scaling with cardinals, dude, I don't know what to tell you. You have the brain worms. Go get some. Let's keep going.
He's my second favorite superhero after Spider-Man. So, fellow Bat fans,
Spider-Man, wow.
Please don't take it the wrong way when I say...
Who do you got, Batman or Spider-Man? Who you got in the fight?
Yep. I accidentally double-clicked there. And it's...
Yeah, who you got in the fight? Guy who made this video,
You're all
big and
annoying
stuff.
as
You got
hell.
Batman or Spider-Man?
It comes from a place of love, I promise. But when you take the idea of authors writing scenes without any consideration for power scaling, and compound that over nearly 100 years of continuous Batman content with dozens, probably hundreds of writers projecting their own preferences and limitations onto the character, each with their own tolerance for putting the rule of cool over consistency, and then you unleash
intent
all of
argument
that
again in the trash.
Untold hordes of adoring fans who are more than happy
It's funny that he mentions the rule of cool when that's literally a concept that's mainly precedent in D&D games where like where dungeon masters or game masters have to, where a certain scene comes up and a character and one of their guys rolls a natural 20 and they want to do something really cool. And the rule of cool is allowing that thing to happen because they rolled really well, and that scene actually happening would be really cool for it to occur. And they basically got the best possible option in terms of probability, so it makes sense for why it occurred. Even though it seems a little bit far-fetched even then, but the rule of cool is just like, let's just make the cool scene happen anyway. Like, the rule of cool is not just for anything ever in action, dude. That's why I feel like you don't understand. Like,
it got to the point in our D&D campaign because of how often we'd roll double crits, because roll 20 rolls your advantage too, so you're rolling 2 dice no matter what. We had to make a rule for what you do for a double crit. If you roll 2 20s for advantage, we had to make a rule for it. But in this case, he's poisoning the well again. He's just like, he's trying to like appeal to some ineffable idea of the comic that we never know about. Well, apparently he knows about it. And so he knows what Batman's actually capable of, right, guys? And all of our takes on it are wrong because we're all biased nerds and we suck. And our mothers are ugly, apparently. Because he said that earlier. I don't know if you guys missed it, but he said all of your moms are ugly.
Yeah.
I hope that gets quoted. I hope he responds to this video and he quotes it and he's like, I never said that.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be funny.
Or every bit of that material for something, anything to support their position in a given argument, and it's almost inevitable that people would come up with reasons that
What?
Wait, well, I want to finish this line real fast. I want to finish the line. Let's pause it because I want to say something else. Play it real fast, and I'm going to say something.
Oh, okay.
Argument, and it's almost inevitable that people would come up with reasons that Batman could defeat, well, just about any character given enough prep time, regardless of whether it actually makes any sense for Batman.
Alright, so he's going to say regardless if it makes sense. For one, makes sense in comparison to what? If they're using comics, what do you have to prove that wrong? For two, you're saying like, oh, well, they're going to find any reason. Well, is the reason invalid? Is it inconsistent? What's the thing? And especially with the topics you've presented above, what's the problem? If they have arguments for Batman, you have to show why they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I had this argument kind of on Twitter earlier this morning, where what will happen is, and this happened with Warhammer, because you guys don't know me, of course it did, where someone's like, this never happened, and I showed them the quote where it did. Surfbone's read this quote in the video before, too. It's about Kabanda falling through infinite universes. And I showed them, like, here's Kabanda falling through infinite universes. And they're like, man, I wish the writers had more respect for the source material, and the editors cracked down on it. And it's like, motherfucker, you're just wrong.
Yeah.
Quit coping.
Yeah,
like,
he's just mad that he didn't
read
it. Like,
yeah, if it's in the work, it does exist. You can say it's inconsistent or there's another explanation. Sure, but that's the next step. The feat existing is the first step. Let's keep watching.
Yeah.
Batman to win that fight. I mean, he's a very smart, very capable fighter, but he's still an unpowered human at the end of the day, and he routinely struggles against the mostly street-level characters.
It's funny because you're only showing the Arkham games, and you're not even talking about the comics, bro. If you've seen what he's done in the comics, then a lot of these matchups make a lot more sense. But of course, you didn't read the comics from what you're complaining about.
I want to go down the list here. I have a few things. So first of all, metaphysics is such a vague term, doesn't scale anywhere. Stop saying that in the chat. If you think metaphysics scales somewhere, you have the brain worms. Second of all, the prep time arguments about Batman, that's fine, because that's a valid key Batman can have. Is it what if he prepares for it? It's not just what he has on him when he's out and about, right? Third of all, when they say the author going into author authority, it's not a fallacy. Stop saying it's a goddamn fallacy.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what a fallacy is. God damn.
Yeah.
But what he's doing here with Batman is he's valuing external consistency. These are humans, therefore they're human strength. But if Batman has better feats and these people scale to Batman, they're just not human anymore.
Like, dude, I was watching like a Crisis video like a week ago where he literally shows, like, in the comics, Batman takes a city block level explosion to the face and walks away fine. He's not just a street level character, even in his own comics.
There are cases where he's punched Apex Lex with the same force Wonder Woman and Superman have, and he didn't disintegrate. There's instances in New 52 where he's gotten hit with soul hacks. And of the Justice League, he was the first one to get up.
Like, dude, I want him to watch.
Wait, I have another one. There's the instance where in the Superman Batman comic where they're all on Themyscira and there's a bunch of Doomsdays and Batman's fighting them with an axe. No, Batman ain't no normal human, Chief.
Man, dude, I want him to watch Crisis's video on how powerful Arkham Batman is and see him just talk about how many joules of energy it takes for him to have done certain things within the cutscenes, and watch him just squeal and panic and like just get utterly upset because, man, how would we know that that's what they were trying to do when they were making the game in those cutscenes, bro?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that calculation isn't wrong, but why are you assuming that the creators wanted us to calculate how impressive that was? Meh. Like,
Whatever, it's not about not
holy
caring.
crap.
It's that you're wrong, but like you're actually just wrong. Like Jungian archetypes just don't scale anywhere.
Yeah.
So let's
Characters in
keep
his
going
room
with the
scale.
video.
And yet, you will find fairly compelling arguments all over the internet for why he would defeat characters who, in all honesty, would vaporize him in the blink of an eye. Purely because he's been around for so long and writers have done so much with him as a character that you can find evidence for him pulling off pretty much anything you can imagine. And while Batman may be the most prominent example of this phenomenon, you
Alright,
can
pause,
be
Wait,
sure
so
that
wait,
he-
why is that a
Pause.
bad thing, though?
Well, I want to pause here. So the arguments are compelling, and he's done it factually, but the reason it's wrong is just because it is?
Yeah.
Dog, like, you have to explain why the argument's wrong. I get you don't want to address every argument here. That's fair. I understand that, you know, but it's that you aren't actually showing why Batman has to be peak human or anything like that. Yeah, Nate's right. It is an appeal to absurdity. Well, actually, I know none of you know about it because y'all fuckers are arguing about Young in the chat. But if you've actually read what Plato's Cave is about, right? There's like the world outside, and then there's the shadows on the wall. According to this guy knows about the real stuff, and we're all just stuck looking at the shadows on the wall about what Batman is, and we're wrong the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you better have actual arguments and not this weird appeal to intent.
Yeah. Or appeal to
Because
absurdity.
if that's all,
Like,
yeah, you can point out any fallacy here, and most of them are probably applicable. But the biggest one is that he's not actually addressing any argument. It's a bunch of "do you really think?" and all that stuff, and then like calling us all biased, telling us our mothers are ugly, and all, what for?
man,
Keep playing the video.
this video just sucks.
character with a sufficiently large pool of source material and a devoted enough fan base will have similar arguments made on their behalf when it comes to versus matchups. Arguments that
Well, are they
selectively
wrong?
focus on outlier feats
Yeah.
Oh, wait, keep going. I was about to say something.
written without scaling in mind and used to vastly highball characters, in spite of those arguments
Pause.
potentially going against the established
Wait, hold on.
All right.
What was he gonna
yeah,
say?
yeah.
What was he gonna
Yeah,
say?
keep playing it.
Hold on. Because he said something about established limitations. I don't want to see what
the
he said.
vastly
that's what
highball
he's going in.
characters, in spite of those arguments potentially going against the established limitations of said character. And this happens
Based
because
off
we don't
of
like
what? Why
Look,
is
all right, wait,
if
end the
Batman
video, end
has
the
a
video
fucking
for
has a fucking supernova level like armor that requires him 2 months in order to like rebuild and prepare and power it up in order to fight a big bad, then that's how powerful it is, bro. That doesn't just because Batman's a human doesn't mean he's a doesn't discredit the fact that if he was given enough prep time and he has that type of capability and he's capable of making those preparations, then why are we not allowed to say that when he's given that type of prep and we've seen him do it, that he should be that powerful? Like, it's like
There's
he's
an
never
instance-
watched the
Wait.
freaking, what's it called? What's that, like, bat suit that he used to take on Darkseid?
The Hellbat?
Yeah, like,
The Hellbat arm?
it's like, oh,
Well, I was
apparently the
gonna bring that
Hellbat's
up.
just not even a thing, apparently, to this guy.
There-
Like, it just doesn't
There's a
exist.
case- There's a case where Lois Lane has the Hellbat armor. She has a gauntlet from it because it was on the moon. And she blasts the Eradicator with it, someone who's relative to Superman, and it works. So this isn't just Batman stuff. The Hellbat is that strong. And furthermore, can you hover over the timeline of the video real fast? Just hover forward a little bit more. Keep hovering until it leaves the Batman. I know it sounds weird. Keep hovering. Alright, so he doesn't provide an actual scan here, and that's my point. He is not showing that there's apparently this panel that he knows about where Batman is stated to be limited. But let's grant it to him. Let's say there is a panel where Batman is super limited and it says he's only this strong, etc., etc., etc. Well, folks, that doesn't then get rid of all of these other cases. We still have to explain them all.
Yep.
We don't just get to ball them all up and say, nope, this one page debunks you all. No. We have to explain each and every case. Especially because Batman gets stronger and better over time. Keep playing the video.
Seeing our favorites lose, which brings me to the third and final nail in the coffin.
What? Wait, hold on. This is just
I was
like,
reading a comment.
This is his third reason. That's a flaw. This is a flaw for why power scaling should never be used ever, or that it's cringe and people should stop doing this as a hobby, because who cares? Wow.
I can't speak for all of you, all 100 people watching this live, or the thousands of people who watch Surfbone's videos, or the hundreds of thousands who watch other videos, but apparently a lot of people care, and there's a very big market for this stuff, as you yourself said earlier with the Mortal Kombat and all of that other stuff. He better make a good point here, because I hate to respond to it before he makes the point, but
yeah,
it's looking pretty incoherent.
Strength doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely, whether one character can beat another...
yes it is. If you're good,
according to your own description, yes it does.
Yeah, even by going by your own stuff, clearly strength matters if we're talking about a Demon Slayer character going up against Chopper from One Piece. So here, I'll break this down for you, bro, since it's clear that you don't like big power scaling terms. So let's dumb this down a bit, and let's get into the storytelling element. Say, for instance, Spider-Man loses to Venom here, and one of the reasons why he loses to Venom is to realize he's not strong enough. Would it then... And that's a big story element, and if Spider-Man doesn't stop Venom, then the entire city is now in jeopardy because Venom's on loose and can do whatever he wants. At that point, Spider-Man's strength is an important element to the story, because him being weak and unable to stop Venom is now allowing the conflict to remain in the story as long as he remains that way until he decides to make a change and compensate for that weakness. That's how we write a story.
There are scenes in other fictions too that I can think of off the top of my head. For instance, in Invincible, there's the scene where Omni-Man is going about doing his stuff, and Cecil's I have maybe 2 guys who can last 5 minutes with him. And he's concerned because Omni-Man's going for his head.
Yeah.
Man, if I could talk to this dude, I'd be like, how exactly do you think a author finishes a fight?
Yeah.
Isn't it by having one person win or lose or draw?
Yeah.
Kind of seems like they're a major factor.
Because almost if you just have someone rant, why do you think the idea of a Deus Ex Machina exists, bro? Because all of a sudden a random event happens that all of a sudden makes something completely obsolete just by its introduction, and people don't like that type of stuff, and they rather have explanations and good reasons for why certain things happen in the story, especially battle shonen or comics or anything like that. Holy crap. It's funny because
keep playing the video.
Yeah, someone mentioned the Stanley thing in the chat, and I was gonna go on to a rant about that, but
if he doesn't make the argument, I don't want to make it sound like we're showmanning him.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with how good of a character they are. I know there's a knee-jerk reaction to defend our favorites, but why? Sure, Superman could utterly demolish Spider-Man.
The problem here is that when we're talking about power scaling, we're talking about power scaling, and if we're talking about narrative quality, we can talk about that too. I think the deflection, if we're talking about why Fire Force eats ass, I just said that because I saw it in the chat.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I do agree. It's cringe to be oh, but Ichigo stomps or something like that. But on the flip side, it's equally cringe if we're talking about why Ichigo stomps and you say, oh, but Fire Force is a better series. No.
Because from what I'm getting is that this guy is the type of guy that thinks that it's better to talk about stuff like narrative and who's a better character and all that type of stuff that's apparently a lot more adult. But the moment you bring up who wins between Miles Morales or Peter Parker, and all of a sudden he's like, oh no, not this childhood playground stuff. No, who cares? And it's like, a lot of people, dude. And here's the better question: when you said who cares, or it's just like, why would people like do this stuff? It's like, why not? People find this stuff fun. Like, is that a foreign concept to you?
Fundamentally, what we're doing here is we're reading 2 books, and it's like a book club where it's like, I've read both books and I think whatever. And so when someone says otherwise, it's like, why do you think that? And then, it might get more absurd based on, the context, but whatever. But in this case, I don't think talking about narrative quality is even that much different than power scaling. If anything, narrative quality is way more subjective and vague.
Yeah.
So let's keep watching.
In a billion different ways, but that doesn't change the fact that I like Spider-Man more. And Goku isn't any deeper or more interesting than Guts from Berserk just because he
actually wait,
in a
pause.
1v1. Saitama.
No, you saying you like Spider-Man more, according to you, means that you're biased for Spider-Man inherently.
Yep.
Keep going.
That doesn't change the fact that I like Spider-Man more. And Goku isn't any deeper or more interesting than Guts from Berserk just because he'd win in a 1v1. Saitama isn't any better or more emotionally compelling than Aragorn, even if he does have an absurdly higher power level. We don't love a character because we've used
does Saitama be Aragorn? I actually don't know about that one.
Obscure source to determine that they're a massively faster than light, multiverse destroying omnipotent god that can solo all of fiction. We love them because we've resonated with them on an emotional level. Because of good writing and compelling development.
Again, we already talked about this earlier. You can like somebody without having to resonate or relate to them in any way. That you don't have to always like a favorite character like that.
People thought I was serious about Bleach and Fire Force. Now I was just pulling characters out of my ass. That wasn't someone says Saitama's comic relief. He's not. That's cringe. I'm surprised this guy didn't try to make that point. But he's trying to like go for this appeal back to like human nature, and it's like, I don't care, man. Like, you've made yourself out to be a clown this whole video.
Yeah.
Because we can identify with their struggles and have empathy for them like we would for a real person. Or maybe we just
what if I just like it because I like it?
Dig their vibes. Their strengths certainly could factor into it as well, don't get me wrong. I know I love a good kick-ass finishing move as much as the next guy, but no matter what, it's all based on our emotional connection to them. Fiction is a realm of emotion. Facts may not care about your feelings in the real world, but in the domain of storytelling, the facts are entirely defined by them. Not to mention that any matchup between characters is just going to go in favor of whoever the author wants to win. Or worse, it'll just be a tie because whatever company...
Oh... my God.
Actually, wait, play a little bit more. I want to hear the rest of what he's going to say real fast.
Owns the rights doesn't want one of their IP to seem less valuable than another.
Alright, pause.
Either way, no amount of power.
He's already contradicting himself because that's Vin Diesel saying that in the contract. And that's because if you know about Vin Diesel and those guys, they all want to look like they're macho. Yeah. And they don't want to just lose. But that doesn't have bearing on who won the fight. You see this in boxing cards too, where a lot of the thrown punches won't matter. And about whoever the author wants to win. Again, about like the Hulkbuster thing. There's a fight in Marvel in World War Hulk where Iron Man would have won if it wasn't sabotaged. So you can say, oh, the author wanted Hulk to win, but that doesn't mean he would have won if we went by SBAs. $5 from Foreign885.
Yeah.
Been a lot of people attacking power scaling lately. Well, thank you, Foreign. Yeah, it's because this is a very active community, to say the least, and there is money to be made in this community for sure. And I was talking about this in chat earlier with some of the people in Surfbone server, but in power scaling, you have the ability to make an actual impact because our community is small enough that when you shout, you'll hear it back. It's not like politics where no one cares what. Sorry, I'm gonna pick someone at random again. Where no one cares what Viper Sniper Piper, that's a funny name, says about power scaling. or not power, about politics, but about power scaling, oh, maybe he has a new argument for whatever's going on screen right now. But yeah, SCP, why do you keep making the dumbest fucking arguments, dude? I'm sorry, but they're actually terrible. It's an appeal to possibility. You have to show that's the case, dude. Like, goddamn. Keep playing.
Power scaling on Reddit is going to turn the tide of battle in your favor. So what's my point? What am I getting at here? Well, I think you should subscribe and drop a like. To be honest,
dislike the video right now. Dislike it.
If you enjoy power scaling and all that entails, if the process of debate brings you joy, then go for it. Who the hell am I to stop you? But I do think that we would all benefit from recognizing that the practice is pretty flawed, prone to absurd confirmation bias, and is really not worth taking super seriously or getting angry about.
Do you think that any other type of conversation where people are very invested, like say like if we're going to talk about who would win between like two sports teams, two guys who are boxing each other, or like two animals fighting each other, or which character is the best written, or any of that type of stuff, you don't think people are like what you're just about to get into? It's like that will have like a favoritism towards certain people, and that's why they certain belief. Like, do you just think that that this type of behavior doesn't exist anywhere else and it's only exists in power scaling? Because I'm sorry to tell you, bro, but like that's not how you've never actually been outside the real world, and I unironically think you need to go touch some grass.
There are two ways to interpret his arguments in this video. Either A, it's humans are flawed, therefore you shouldn't power scale, which is terrible already, because then you shouldn't do anything because humans are flawed. Or B, these flaws apparently only magically appear when you power scale, which sounds like if anybody has a bias, it would be him.
Yeah.
So, like, I do agree you shouldn't get angry about it, and you shouldn't take it so seriously you're getting worked up about it, sure. But that's anything.
How am I able to see the discount count? It's because I have a certain add-in.
Extension.
Yeah, and I have a certain extension that allows me to see the dislike, and I'm able to do it. So
I also think it might do us some good to focus on the other things that make our favorite characters so cool. And when we do run into dick measuring territory, we consider whether a feat is actually representative of them, or if it's just happening for the sake of a cool scene, before we start whipping out the calculators.
You'll never, ever, and I mean ever, be able to find that out, dude. That never happens. And also,
what if
you don't have a time machine, you're not a mind reader, and you're not some omnipotent god.
It's beyond that. According to this guy, there is some idea of Batman. Not like the story of Batman, which is so my argument. But there's this idea of Batman out there. And apparently only this guy, and probably some brain-dead commenters, they just know magically that, no, that doesn't fit in with the idea of Batman. But no one else knows, apparently, and like you can't prove it, it's ineffable. But apparently this guy knows. And mind you, what's gonna happen when someone shows a verse this guy doesn't know about? Is he gonna be able to tell me how strong Gilliman is?
It's gonna be.
He's never even heard of Gilliman.
You know what utterly would break this dude's mind is if a scene was both meant to be cool while also meant to demonstrate how powerful they were at the same time.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
what
happens when the characters
concept, bro?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, what happens when the story is like something interesting about the characters, like specifically about their power? I don't know, maybe Saitama.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah. Maybe people really like Saitama,
Superman, Goku, like.
Yeah, maybe people really like Saitama not because he's just a goofy character, but they like the whole idea of a character who's really, really strong at the beginning to the point where he's so vastly above everyone else that he, more often than not, beats characters at one punch. And then we get to see the development and struggle that he has to deal with being that strong in that current world when most of his what he does doesn't actually affect the world around him and the crime rate.
Well, I think like most of One Punch Man, Saitama is like the worst character. He's still good, but I like hearing about Fubuki or like Suryu more most of the time. And so
Show me
I just think
Fubuki behind
that
the scenes.
dog, show me Fubuki on the covers, dude. Murata, Blue Lad, what are you
Woo
doing, man?
lad. Woo lad.
Yeah. Oh, I can't draw women, Murata says. Bullshit.
Yep.
Go ahead and Google Fubuki manga covers, everybody. Make sure you're in private, because Murata's doing something over there.
Yep.
Anyways. But I think it's fine to talk about anything you like for any reason you like. And I think this guy trying to gatekeep it is super cringe, and he's super stupid.
Yep.
Keep
Bro
playing the
can't
video.
draw women, but he draws Captain Mizuki.
Have fun.
Yep.
But just know that I think you're a goofy goober. Then again, what do I
You're
know?
an idiot.
I watch slice of life anime. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time to explain why Komi-san solos all of One Piece with her devastating Conqueror's haki.
So one question.
Oh
always-
no! No!
Can I tell the
no!
story? So back in the day, Stan Lee actually used to answer a lot of these questions. And in fact, there are stories out, well, I think it's done now, based on the premise of fights happening. So for instance, like there's like a big Thor versus Hulk event that happened a year ago, right? Because of how often they would fight in Marvel. And Stan Lee would answer questions all the time, and then people would get mad and debate about it. And so Stan eventually said this, and we're not going to play the clip because we're not giving him the benefit. We're not playing the clip.
I want to ask a question, but I don't know if it's too soon or not.
Go for an ask.
Is it too late to invoke death of the author on Stan Lee?
No, because I invoked it when he was alive, so no, it's fine.
No, but I don't know. Making an entire video on like power scaling is bad, and then be like, oh yeah, you're assuming that the author is thinking about power scaling. You're assuming he's not thinking about it either. You're the problem too, dog. Like,
But in the Stan Lee quote, he says it's whoever the author wants to win.
it's like
So
with
that
that
would be-
Batman point. Like he just automatically
Wait,
assumes
yeah,
that. My bad. Go ahead.
that means that whatever happened in the story is what was intended to happen. Your own quote contradicts your video. Also, no, Sonic is the GOAT. Metaphysics doesn't have one set definition. By appealing to one, you're already wrong.
Oh, I nearly died because I didn't think he was actually going to end the video with the infamous Stan Lee clip where Stan Lee's just going off about it's whoever the writer wants to win, or whoever makes the most sense to win in the given situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, people only cite this quote from Stan Lee because they want to cope and they want a reason to not care about what is being presented to them by another person who's trying to legit have a discussion about who wins between two characters. And
No,
they're
right.
Yeah.
They're right. The author does decide who wins. How do they decide, though?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but fundamentally, the response that's up to the writer or anything like that has always been cope from people who don't know anything.
Yeah.
You'll be talking about stuff, and then someone will cope and say, "Oh, well, it's up to the writer anyways. Who cares?" And it's like, I get you don't know anything, but just shut up. For NND, Word of God has no backing. It is entirely like this weird point people think is intuitive. There is no reasoning behind it, and it contradicts how language works. Is there anything else in this video besides the dumb Stan Lee statement? Like, skim it real fast.
No, it's literally the entire video.
Well, this shit sucked.
Yep, this video sucked. I think this guy is kind of scummy for using that Chainsaw Man edit without giving credit to the person that actually made it and made this really cringe description, because he was really lazy about this video. I mean, you can see it with his editing throughout the entire thing.
It just felt like a cash grab to get money off the scaling community. So.
Yeah.
like I came in halfway, and there was just so many contradictions. Shit.
God damn. All right,
Now,
so yeah,
that's not to say that there aren't people in the community that he did describe, but
we've been over this, Nate. I've already made this point. Yeah.
probably earlier before it came to be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just it's literally like the most brain dead midwit take I've ever seen. Like that. If you guys have ever seen that Wojak, that's like the one, like it looks like it's like the smart mask on the regular one with no brain. That's what this is. So.
What the hell is that, Surfbone?
Oh, it's the Quake 2 soundtrack. So that's
We need
that's
something.
what we had playing on the bounce screen.
Yeah, can we have something
it's
a bit more?
too loud.
I was gonna say, what is something that's a bit more?
Just look up like trance calming background music. Or
Lightheart.
something, I don't know.
Oh, there's the royalty-free jazz that fucking Jobby the Hong uses.
Oh, royalty-free jazz. There we go.
Well, yeah, Dark King David, I've seen this on Comic Vine too. They'll say, well, we gotta get 2 writers who are both like well-respected for their characters, then we gotta get an editor, and then we'll really know. And it's like, what we'll really know is that if you jump off a bridge, we won't be hearing any more dumb takes from you. Like, it's just such a non-response.
All I had to say is big and stuff. I wish you luck in watching something and not scaling it subconsciously.
No, who does that?
There's no way you
Yeah,
could watch an episode where someone gets their ass beat and you're like, man, I wonder how much stronger that person's going to become.
Yeah.
Oh no, I just scaled.
Decent
No.
excuse? No, it never is. Actually, that's dependent on the writer and the writer's interpretation doesn't matter. It's about our interpretation. There are fights where a writer will write it and we get more context later that recontextualizes it. Like there's Iron Man fights where he's weakened the whole time. Like whereas Repulsor is cracked. But we learned that in other comics. I'm gonna stop watching the screen.
Yeah, I closed the window in here. Like, I'm just trying to play royalty-free.
Halo
jazz
power
music, man.
scaling, game mechanics versus cutscenes and novels. Which one do I use? Cutscenes and novels, because those are canon. Game mechanics are limited to the Blam engine, which is from 1999. For instance, in the Blam engine, like, there are certain things that are hit scan that shouldn't be. Like, some bullets are hit scan. I guess we'll stick around till what, like 20 or like, because we're in different time zones, like 20.
This guy had a good point. If we need to get 2 writers to decide who would win, why is it invalid for 2 power scalers to compare feats and decide who wins? True.
Exactly, I agree with you. But the response this guy will give, and well, I say will give, but this is what his argument results to, is there's this idea of these characters that only he knows about apparently, and maybe the writers know about, and that's what they're using. But we're using this flawed. We're apparently using the shadows on the wall of Batman in them.
By the way, SCP, the guy that's right next to me is Hashi.
I've written like a lot of Surfbone videos.
So that video was garbage. More garbage than I thought it was gonna be. Because
I'll
I
say,
thought at least...
literally make the fight happen and include it in the definitive story, then it's interpretive. No, everything's interpretive, dude. Like I said, there are fights with Iron Man and other people that you have to read multiple comics to say, hey, does Iron Man actually lose that in his prime?
Man, imagine if we decided to like be like, you know what? Why do you guys care about who's going to win this soccer match? Why can't you just enjoy the game? Like, do you imagine how much of a buzzkill you sound, bro? You're literally that one dude at the party that no one wants to be there because you shit on everything.
You know what we're all going to be watching tomorrow? The Volk fight. You know what we're all thinking about?
Yeah, who cares about... Yeah, who cares if Volkanovski wins? I'm lying. I want him to win very bad.
Yeah, no, I like
You
Volk.
better be there for the Surfbone.
Yeah, it's at
You know the story here, Surfbone?
What?
Volkanovski is coming in on 12 days notice.
Yeah, I remember. Either you or Noodles told me this.
Islam has been trying to discredit him the entire time, saying like, "Oh, you're only in it for money." And Volkanovski's just like, "Bro, you complained the last fight not having enough time to rehydrate when you had 30 hours to do so. Is that not enough?"
Yeah. Do you think he'll make a response?
Here,
I would
your ass.
laugh.
I doubt it.
I would laugh so hard if he did.
Listen, if he wants to make a response, he can be a big boy and talk to Surfbone about it himself.
Yeah, but still, I'm going to watch that same video and laugh at it because he's gonna have a really hard time responding to any of the points. Because I can already guess if he makes a response, it's gonna be a bunch of whining. It's gonna be him thinking that we're strawmanning him the whole time, when we probably understand him more than he understands himself.
Problem here is that every argument he made, I've heard better versions of from smarter people. And I know, like, I refrained from calling him anything till the end because I gave his ideas shots, right? Like, when I say shots, because he had multiple, right? But I gave them all shots, and they all ended up being bad. And that's why I'm very confident in saying the video fucking sucks. It's because it's inaccurate. And if he's watching this bit of the video, man, look. I feel like if you make a response, it's going to be you trying to respond to Death of the Author. But unless you've actually, like, taken classes on language, you're not making a response. It's just a fact.
Okay. So, Sonic is the GOAT, but the writers wrote the comics. That literally does not matter. Because
So look at it this way. The writers wrote the characters, but, like, they still have fights, and it still, like, showcases what they can and can't do.
Yep.
Like,
because
that's independent of the author.
What can
I have another argument about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Sonic,
Hashi's best at this.
please tell me what part of the writers writing the comics makes them matter. I'll wait your response.
I can already guess what he's gonna say.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. I don't want to assume his argument.
No,
we'll respond to other people.
We're not. Don't spam his
General
comment
power
section.
skill.
Don't spam his comic section.
Yeah.
We're not going to be those types of
don't.
people. We
Yeah,
don't
don't.
encourage that type of behavior. We're more mature than that.
Like, who
Don't
cares?
spam his comment section to come talk to me. We don't need to do that. You are free to comment, but I'm not telling you to spam him or harass him or do any of that because we're not those types of people. That's not the
spam is
community I'm
lame.
trying to build. No, we're not being those types of people.
No.
Unless you're spam DMing a friend to annoy them, then that's okay.
Yeah, like if you want to make fun of somebody for saying something stupid, that's fine. That's completely different.
Yeah.
Going out of your way to openly harass somebody, saying that that they should come talk to me or that they're really dumb and doing that throughout their entire comment section, I do not support that whatsoever.
That just kind of makes power scaling in the community.
Because you're end up
work
proving
out.
him right. You're end up proving him right that we are all sensitive to his stuff and that we all have to remotely attack him in order to silence him. We're not doing that type of stuff. No.
So, Nathaniel Alvarez, first of all, I wouldn't recommend having your YouTube name as your real name, but second of all, what happens when an author changes their own interpretation of what happened or what the story means? If a painter draws a castle and your friend thinks it's a castle, he says it's a horse. Well, the author's interpretation is just as valid as any other interpretation. It doesn't hold any inherent weight to it. That's kind of the point of Death of the Author, is that the author isn't special.
Yeah.
Can Sukuna / cut Goku apart? Probably not. Just because, like, Goku can withstand that kind of stuff with the ripples anyways, but also because, like, we don't actually know how Sukuna's doing it yet. And I think it's off screen because it's going to be very relevant later. How he did it.
A great thing to show that authors really don't matter, and like after it's like written, Toriyama literally forgot about like Super Saiyan 3 and launch and stuff.
He
Like,
didn't
he's
even.
just a-
He completely
he's just a
forgot when
great
the
way to
beginning of
show
Z
it.
started.
Yeah, it's just a great way to showcase like how authors just don't matter.
Well, it's just like authors are allowed to forget what. It's like authors are still humans, guys.
Yeah,
They are
that
capable of
just
making
shows-
mistakes. They don't remember everything they've ever written down. So just assuming that they are more knowledgeable than the average person, it's just like that's something that doesn't really matter. And oftentimes, that often doesn't really happen. And sometimes
wait, is
somebody who consumes the media
is
more
the
is
stream
gonna know more.
going? Yeah, is the stream going to stay up, or will the VOD get deleted? Surfbone, stream staying up?
Yeah, it's staying up. I never delete
unless
the VODs.
unless something gets claimed, it's staying up.
Yeah, I'm never deleting these VODs.
Unless
will
something
always
gets
stay up.
claimed, in that case,
It's
yeah.
like,
I mean, if something gets claimed, we'll try to work it out. But
Man, we
Hey.
still have like almost like 100 people in here. And we're not even doing anything right now.
yeah, I
Pretty
like how
smart
that
that's
one
it.
guy who said the thing about the author didn't actually say anything back.
Yeah.
I found a video, same kind, different channel called Power Scaling versus the People. Put it in the chat in Surfbone's channel, and we might watch it another stream.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be streaming for 3 hours. I don't mind sticking around here for a bit longer, but I don't want to be streaming here for like 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
That's pain.
Unless you got some donations. Let's say
Oh, yeah.
how much are we willing to watch this video for? 50
It
bucks.
depends how long it is.
Yeah, if it's
multiply the minutes of the video by 60 minutes, and then you got the time.
yeah.
Nate, what?
Yeah.
I want to read this. Does death of the author still apply if people are arguing about something like how strong an attack is? Because people are confused about what a character meant. Well, yeah, the author is just like a reader when it comes to reading the work. They don't have any inherent value over another reader.
Yep.
So like an author can create an analysis of their own writing. Yeah, they definitely could.
Yeah.
And it's just as valid as any other analysis.
Yeah, because the thing is, what some people don't realize is that authors can change their own opinions, and they can change how they view their own story, and vice versa. Like, it's not like authors are just this stagnant, like, person that just knows what's true, or they are incapable of being corrected on what's true. Like, they are just as capable of having their own opinion that is just as valuable as our own, that could easily be right or wrong. That's just how the world works. That's how reading and interpreting a story works. He's not gonna watch the video. I doubt it. If I make a Dragon Ball Super cosmology versus Sonic cosmology, would you watch it if you paid me to? So it's like, unless I get like copious amounts of people that want me to watch your video for whatever reason, then I need some better incentive to dedicate an entire stream to watch it, or spend my time to actually sit down, watch it, and critique it along the way. And even then, I don't know that much about Sonic anyway, so I'd have to bring somebody else on that I trust, like Stryker, a buddy of mine, in order to better analyze this. But
Yep. So, we were deciphering a poem by our literature teacher yesterday. I think she doesn't subscribe to death of the author. Well, I think it's fine for like some purposes to suspend your disbelief to talk about something, or because a certain argument is kind of reliant on author statements. Like if we're talking about like, was this thing rushed in production, right? Or something like that. But I don't know the case of your class. You might just ask, like, what do you think about death of the author? And then, I don't know, like, debate her on it or something cringe like that.
Yeah.
Would you guys say the agenda scale, that agenda scalers or sites like VSBW have a bias against visual novel characters in games? I don't know. VSB has, like, a weird bias because it's, like, 7 people who do everything. Do absolute infinity scale to any level? It would be omnipotence. So Cantor talks about how absolute infinity is beyond any set. And so if we had the set of all tiers, absolute infinity would have to be beyond that. If we had the set of all characters, absolute infinity is beyond that. It is omnipotence, it is a no limits fallacy, except for it's kind of true. Because it is something that requires no limits. And that's why no one scales to it as well. God, what would this guy even do when he hears about authors referencing fan wikis? I mean, what's he gonna do when authors reference power scalers specifically?
Yeah.
I'm saying that I'm saying they wrote the comics. I've heard people say every statement from an author is invalid, and it is just their opinion. Writing the comics doesn't grant you some special authority.
Yeah, we're getting close to the 2-hour mark here, so we'll probably be reading a few more questions, and then we'll probably end the stream there.
Yep. So right now, when I'm saying this, it is the 27th minute of the hour, depending what time zone you're in. And I think we're going to call it at 35.
Alrighty.
So get them in while you can. I'm sorry about the delay. Absolute infinity, not omnipotence, while it's basically the same thing. No, they are the same thing. Cantor specifically had to invent the term transfinite because in infinity related to God and omnipotence, and people got mad about that. I've seen some people say that consistency doesn't matter to an author. Is that true? It's not true. It does matter. What do y'all think of negative theology? It's cringe.
Negative theology.
Yeah, it's cringe. Stop going on VSB. It's rotting your brain.
Here, I'll answer this next one. What exactly is a no limits fallacy? If a character is literally stated to be without limits, is that enough to trigger a no limits fallacy and make them instantly below the tiering system? So it's when you say things like, if they have never been shown to have limits, then we shouldn't assume that they have limits. That's when you demonstrate what is called a no limits fallacy. Because essentially, you're claiming because we've never seen like their utmost peak power, then we can't assume what that peak power is, and that therefore they should be able to beat anybody. That's why the whole like fallacy kind of was derived from when people were talking about Saitama, that because we've only ever seen him one punch everybody and supposedly he's always holding back every single encounter, that he might just be the most powerful character in fiction because of that, because we've never seen him go all out before.
Can you have absolute infinity and just not be omnipotent? No, because that's not absolute infinity. People use it to scale Void Cheeky above SCP. Well, Void Cheeky has a better claim to 1A than SCP does, so it's fine. Isn't VSB bounded by dimensionality? Yes.
By their own admission.
When a story's inconsistent, it stops having stakes. I disagree with that. You can have an inconsistent story with stakes. Is power scaling mythology possible? Yes, people do it all the time.
Yep,
even background characters with solo fiction with no limits, damn straight.
It's like people
I'm trying to read them fast,
Greek mythology, Norse mythology. Like, hell, people have been... I literally had gotten so many comments from people telling me to power scale Jesus. Like, yeah, for some reason.
I don't think mythology has a strict canon, though. It doesn't have to. Canon's up to the reader, ultimately.
Yeah.
SCP has a lot more stuff. Might have more content, but a lot of it's shite.
Yeah.
So are you saying the entirety of VSB scaling can't be used? I wouldn't say it can't be used. It's just done very poorly.
Yeah.
Like would you drive a car that's held together by duct tape?
Like, at some point, when you get to, like, a certain, like, bar of, like, looking through VSB, you just realize there's so... Like, essentially, if I tell you to look at VSB, I'm only going to be telling you to look at specific things that I agree with and I think are fine. Because there are lots and lots and lots of problems with what I see with the site. And that whenever you try to make changes to that site, it's incredibly gratuitous work and it's ultimately never worth it. Because talking to those people is like talking to a trash can. It's ultimately a waste of time.
A lot of it is what's called a lot of it is plagiarism as well, because if you make a page on VSB, it is no longer your page, it is VSB's page, and they also steal stuff from other people all the time. We actually have seen Saitama's limits, or he has limits for infinite potential growth. Saitama breaks his limiter every day. It's stated in the audiobook.
Yeah, but 8-bit, I was just making that demonstration as the reason why the whole idea of a no limits fallacy came to be, was because people were making those statements about Saitama before we even saw him go full power against Monster Garo and Cosmic Fear Garo and all that shit.
What would you recommend to check on VSB? Probably people who are banned, because they probably had good ideas. What,
very
would I have
very
to pay
specific
you guys
things. Wait, say that
Would I
again?
have to pay you guys to react to anything? The thing is if there's something that, like, for lack of a better term, no one really cares about, then yeah, money is required. Otherwise, if it's a popular video and enough people like it, or hate it, I guess, then we will react to it.
Yeah, like, the reason why we watched this video was because so many people were telling me to watch it, and it kept coming up on my feed. So many people were telling me it was bad. So many people said that they needed this guy to shut up, and to the point where, like, you know what? Let's watch this video and see what people are talking about, and ultimately just trash on this guy if he ends up saying something stupid.
Well, Tron, you'll be seeing why that's wrong in a video coming eventually, whenever Surfbone makes it.
Yeah.
Mythology is just stories about religion, not inherently. There are mythological stories that are completely rooted in reality, like that Nazis had a stealth bomber and a time machine. What do you think about rules on not being able to debunk a kudo side? Well, VSB just sucks. Any rule they have probably sucks too.
Yeah, a lot of VSP's rules suck. That's why I said that, like, there's just so much wrong with that site that if I tried to change it, it would probably take an entire century to do so, because so many of those people have so many flawed ideas about power scaling that it would need an entire revamp, and it's honestly not worth talking to those people. That's why I never tell people to go to VSP for this stuff. Go to character stats and profiles. Not only are their standards far better, but they're much easier people to talk to, and they're far more willing to listen in regards to what changes they should make in regards to their certain pages. While all the other character pages are not created by them. All the other character pages are made by anyone else who is willing to make a profile. Literally, you could make a profile right now, and as long as it, like, coincides with the rules that are stated by character stats and profiles, you're fine.
We got a few things. First of all, people ask about the Nazi stealth bomber. Laser Pig has a video on it. It's called the Horton Ho.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Same thing with the time machine. He doesn't talk about the time machine there though.
I'm just gonna ban this guy.
How strong do you think Kaguya from Naruto is? Tamishi star level because space in between. I think that's kind of like a cope argument because there's more than that, and it's called a universe, and it's bigger than the Kamui dimension.
Man, it's kind of funny because I sent Surfbone a scan, like, trying to show him, like, something else that was being talked about earlier that's related to this exactly.
I'm just gonna
Like
say this.
DM Surfbone.
Oh, yeah. I'm just gonna say this one time to the guy that just donated. Never come into my chat again. I don't care what type of threat you make against me. You are an incredibly weird person, and I've seen time and time again you get personally interviewed and scolded because of the type of behavior that you exude. Whatever you have to throw against me hasn't, like, there's nothing that you could say to me that hasn't already been said already. I do not fear you. Don't ever talk to me again. I'll cut my chin.
You're also a pedophile, and you should probably take low-tier god's advice.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Like, please go jump off a cliff.
Damn.
Pedophiles are not people, everybody. Fun fact.
And do a
Run
backflip
into a
while
little
you're
bit
at
of
it.
overtime here to borrow from fucking DSP here. SCP, One Punch Man, JJ K are the most overrated versus in fiction, Cap, whatever. I think people who make that claim for any verse should think about what does being overrated mean. In the sense of, like, is it the gap between where they are and when people say they are, or is it how often people say they're that big? Creation doesn't equal destruction. Creation is actually more impressive than destruction because of E equals MC squared.
Yep. Okay.
I think that's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for everybody coming out.
Yep.
I said we were gonna stop at 35 and it's 36, so we did go a bit over.
Yep. So thank you guys for tuning in. A lot of people ended up coming to this stream, and still we have like 87 viewers ending this stream. But to close off, we got a few things for the channel that I'll talk about at the end for all those who were willing to wait to the complete and utter end of this stream. We got a couple scripts that are currently finished now that are going to start getting recorded soon. The first one is probably Hashi's favorite video he's ever written right now, which is the how to research video. We have another one that's called the what is a tiering system video, which is the one that we've been alluding to this entire stream. That one is now finished and it's going to be made soon. It's not the like infinitesimal to outerversal one. That's going to be a different video entirely, which is going to probably take me a bit more time because
that ain't getting made.
Yeah.
We talk about it in the script, but that ain't getting made. I'm sure like there's like 5 of you who want it, but like it's so boring. Like it's like I don't want to spoil the joke I make in the script, but it is actually terrible. Like you can read the tiering system yourself. If you have any more questions, you can ask them. Like ask your mother, I guess. And she might tell you, but yeah, it's just no, that video ain't getting made.
Yeah.
I don't want to work on it. Surfbone doesn't want to work on it. Sorry.
He literally came in on an alt to send a donation on it and to like continue to threaten me again. Like
That's
You know,
fine.
I'm
Just
just
keep
gonna say
sending
that-
money. That's really threatening.
Yeah, you're really showing
yeah,
us.
thank you for your money, dude. Don't come
What's
back
that, like
on
$4?
your
I don't even know who the
That
hell
was-
he is, but
Yeah, that was $2 he sent me.
thanks for the money.
Oh,
I
no, he
guess.
sent it
Go
before.
fuck
Well,
off.
I can't speak for anything else, but I will vouch that I will donate $4 to charity
Yeah.
for that. Does Hashi have a channel? Kind of. I don't really make videos like he'd want to, unless you like Dark Side Phil content.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you might. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to see if that video can get made, but it's really boring to make. The other video that's currently being made, and now this is, I'll end the stream with this. So I'm currently making a script right now, based around like Luffy not having Toon Force. Now the predicament that I'm having is that not only do I have to explain why Luffy doesn't have Toon Force, which isn't that hard to explain, and pretty much that entire section of the video is finished, but what I've been coming to, the problem is that I feel like I now have to explain in its entirety and almost revolutionize the idea of how Toon Force should be interpreted. Now, do you guys think that the Toon Force explanation and the Luffy stuff should be in the same video, or if I should make an entire video just based off of Toon Force? So type in 1 if you just want a Toon Force video by itself and a Luffy video after that, or do you want the Toon Force stuff with the Luffy stuff? For 2.
Man, Surfbone, you're setting me up for a big troll here. I'm not gonna do it, but I could have. I'll DM you what I could have did later.
Let's see what alright.
Let's see what everybody says while I
Mhm.
load up. Have you ever scaled your childhood characters before? I mean, everybody does to an extent.
Yeah.
2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. I'd like it separate. I forgot what option it was. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1.
It looks like the ones have
I
got
think
it.
that Toon Force should be scaled the way everyone just uses feats. Facts. 1, 2,
Yeah.
2. That's pretty divisive.
Yeah.
And that's not including the duplicates from Tom Supreme.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Democracy undermining bitch. I'm sorry, Tom.
Eh.
You shouldn't undermine democracy. That's un-American of you.
Alright.
Yeah, the time
I'll
when
definitely
White
have to
Luffy
make
doesn't have
this-
gear fun.
I'll definitely have to make this in its entire poll in itself, but either way, those
Yeah.
are the videos that are currently being made right now. Other videos are also being in the works, but those are kind of been on the forefront as of right now. But anyway, I appreciate everyone coming by the stream. Thank you all for watching, and class is dismissed. Say goodbye, guys.
I'll see ya, everybody. Everybody put mammoth emojis in the chat as it's ending as you